Hello. Is this thing on? Now it should be. Cool. So, without further much ado, beers and food. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our event. Welcome to our debate. My name is Kalin, and I will be moderating today's debate. I know it's not necessarily the easiest thing to cold start this type of event, but I am wondering if you guys are a fan of international holidays. I am, because tomorrow is Thanksgiving in particular. Yeah. And because we are Romanian, we do things obviously earlier, and we are celebrating a sort of Thanksgiving today. And we are specifically thankful for all of you being here. So give a big round of applause to all of you for being here. Today we will have quite a punchy, let's say punchy subject to discuss, to debate. We are going to be assessing where your data should live, be it on the cloud or be it on-prem. Our debaters have, quite a few good arguments to share with you guys. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. Great, a debate about storage. That sounds fun. But truly, the party never stops, because when it comes to this particular argument, the things you can say are quite spicy, quite hot. If I were to put it in like nerd terms, it's basically like the Star Trek versus the Star Wars of the tech debates. So yeah, I think it's quite important. And people have strong opinions. Some believe the cloud is the future, elastic, scalable, magical. Others say, no, thank you. I like my data where I can walk over and hug the server rack if I need emotional support and not only technical support. So yeah. So yeah, without further ado in this respect, I am honored to present you two very brave teams, ready to convince you that their approach is one of the true paths you can take. But before I do that, I would like to give a small nota bene, let's say. Obviously, all of these people have worked with on-prem at some point in their careers, and a lot of them work with the cloud right now. So this is an intellectual exercise. Obviously, in reality, we all have more nuanced opinions, but we are here to debate. We are here to fight. So yeah, this is the point of of this type of intellectual exercise, the debate. So yeah, without further ado, I would like to introduce you the proposing team, the cloud team, starting with Iulian Constantinescu, DevOps architect. Continuing with Justina Chitseni, DevOps engineer. And Liviu Costea, DevSecOps engineer for Advent. And Codrin Boleanu, engineering lead. So yeah, the proposing team will argue that the cloud is absolutely where your data should live because it's like a luxurious penthouse in the sky with 24/7 security and room service, but they have better arguments than mine, so yeah. Cool. And continuing with the opposition team that will be arguing for the on-prem side of things, starting with Ionuț Lumină, DevOps engineer Cognizant. Continuing with Monica Coros, DevOps engineer. Ionuț Feraru, DevOps engineer. Round of applause. And Lucian Căliman, DevOps engineer. Yeah, quite a few DevOps people. I wonder why. So, just to explain the format a bit, our format is an Oxford-style debate, and I want to emphasize it's an Oxford style. It's not a full Oxford. We are not in Oxford. We are in Iași, and we wanted to change the classic format a bit, so it's a bit more engaging with you guys, basically. So this is how everything is going to work. Each of these wonderful debaters is going to have 5 minutes to convince you guys that their side is right. After those 5 minutes are concluded and they have exposed their arguments to you, there are going to be another 5 minutes in which you guys can ask them anything, basically. So there are going to be 5 minutes for each of the debaters' intervention and 5 minutes for a very short Q&A. And I'll do my best to pick the right people for, well, to make sure we don't pick the same people for the Q&A segment. And yeah, after the debate is concluded, I will pretty please ask you that you don't sprint out immediately because there's going to be another vote at the end of the debate. Voting is very important in this type of debate because this is how we determine who the winner is going to be. We have tallied the votes in the beginning just to get like a vibe check to see where we position ourselves initially. And at the end, you are going to receive another vote. You're going to vote again. And we'll see who is going to win based on the results of your vote. So again, please, after the debate is ended, please don't leave immediately. Cool. So I think we can begin. Iulian Constantinescu for the cloud team, please take the forefront.
It seems it's working. Let's see. Do I have some slides? Yeah. The timer, when does it start? Do I start it? It should be on the timer. Show us the timer. I'm going to start my own timer here. Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Iulian Constantinescu, and I've been in the IT industry for almost 2 decades. So I think I know a little bit about on-premise. And probably some people expected to tell you about the cloud advantages. You can Google those. And what I'll tell you, it's my experience with on-premise. And I've been doing some infrastructure. I've been picking up hardware servers and compacting them, virtualizing basically in Xen servers, Hyper-V or vSphere. And on that span of time spent in on-premise, I learned a lot about especially the things that you don't like about on-premise. And the title slide says redundancy is good, but probably it's very expensive. And this is just an example. You need redundancy at the ISP. Yeah, you need a redundant internet provider. You need redundant server motherboards, network layers. Yeah, you tell me something that you need to have in your data center that doesn't need redundancy, and I'll find some. My story in particular, it's about redundancy and performance. And as you can see here, it shows some RAIDs. And those RAIDs, if you need performance, you need some cards. Those particular cards are called RAID cards. And what do you know? If you don't have the same model, the same version, especially the same firmware, when one of those cards fails, you're not going to be able to recover your data. That's one of the stories that I've experienced, and we had to recover the data from backups. Yeah, while we were building the virtualization system for one of the companies, we chose, Seagate and Western Digital as our storage layer. So when we did the virtualization, when we built this virtualization system, this happened somewhere in 2012, Xen project, Xen servers, and we had a layer of storage. And a layer of storage was composed of at least several servers, and we used this kind of model of drives. And surprise was that it was affected by a manufacturer fault, and in less than 24 months, 90% of the disk failed. And what was ugly is that we had ZFS 10 or 100, and we could support up to 2 disks being failed in the RAID without losing data. But it was stressful. It was stressful the moment you see that your RAID was recovering, and basically another disk started to show status failure. So it was that was keeping me awake at night to see, hopefully the RAID will synchronize and will recover. So in less than 24 months, most of the disk failed. The Western Digital, I think it was like 6 or 7 years, 1 or 2 disks failed. Another story that it happened to me, it was, we all have alerts configured for the on-premise. But usually we receive the usual alerts. Yeah, high CPU usage, high memory disk being filled, or whatever other alerts, request response time, but not temperature. Why? I said when I received the first alert, I said, okay, probably a motherboard sensor it failed, and probably it will recover. The joke didn't last too much when the second alert came from a different server. So what had happened? Our AC system failed in our server room. So we had to find ways of fixing it. And my last story, it's about our neighbors implementing water cooling to our server room, which is not nice. We were lucky, at least, we were lucky that we didn't have any power outlets on the floor. So next day we had to do a lot of mopping, repair the leaking pipe in the wall. Yeah, dirt. We didn't allow the cleaning lady to come and we left it as it was. Only the engineers got in. So if you want to, yes, the on-premise is cool until it isn't, especially for the things that you cannot control. Life is much better. I've been working with both. Yes, I'm a cloud addict, so it's easy. My life is easier since I discovered the cloud. Okay, thank you.
Don't
Questions?
you dare leave.
Questions.
So, questions for Julian.
Do we have a microphone?
We do. We have
Okay.
several microphones.
Raise your hand and start asking.
No, you're not allowed.
Shoot.
We have a question there.
Let's go.
Hello, very nice debate. So you were complaining about a lot of issues about the on-premise storage and hosting in general. And I was curious, you didn't mention any issue with the cloud. You didn't encounter any issue with the cloud?
Yeah, I don't want to defend the cloud, but my life in cloud is usually very easy if you know to do your job, and if you don't have any unforeseen problems that you cannot control. Usually you can do almost 100% redundancy. If you have the money and if the policies from the company allows it, probably you can, sky's the limit in redundancy in cloud. You cannot say the same thing about on-premise. You can do a lot of redundancy, but it's not cheap, and you need to deep dive in networking protocols and whatever technologies. It's not easy. You need to have expensive people, especially for the business. Those really specialized people will not be very cheap.
Any other question for Julian? We have a question here.
Right, hello. Right, none of your pictures there pointed to proper data centers. Just to start. Right, that one.
You don't like it? That's the way we do it here in Yash.
Yeah, right. So on-prem doesn't mean server's room, right? That's a server's room. There's no technical raised floor. Right, well, actually, by that chair there, that's actually an office, a sysadmin office.
No, it's a spare chair. Disregard it. Well, yeah, especially for the administrative lady when needs to put something like if we receive any shelf and you want to put it somewhere, you put whatever.
That's the chair for the server emotional support, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Cloud versus on-prem. Surprisingly, on-prem is cheaper, a lot cheaper, and you can achieve all sorts of redundancy levels because basically that's what the cloud provider is doing for you. So you're just comfy without getting wet. Where do you put the stop for going on cloud in terms of pick a topic, budget, policies?
If you know your thing in the cloud, you can make a business run in the cloud in I wouldn't say very cheap manner, because in the end you need to pay a bill. If you have requests to your application, you're going to pay a bill at the end. But I think the peace of mind that you receive with the cloud, you're going to sleep well at night because your policy will scale if you have traffic, whatever. On-premise, it's not that easy when, for example, the core switch or core routers fails. Yeah, success with that. If you don't have redundant routers, Those are not cheap at all.
Right. Is that you speaking when you say the cloud is cheap and you can speak, you can sleep well, or is the CEO slash CFO?
Probably both. Probably both. I would compare cloud and the on-premise is like a horse and the car. If the horse wasn't a problem, probably nobody would have invented the car. And the same thing with the airplane. They've seen a problem, multiple problems. There are many problems with the on-premise. And that's the reason why the cloud came in the rescue. Because cloud, I've been doing, by the way, I've been doing presentation about cloud and evangelizing cloud since 2012, trying to convince people to come to cloud. And the idea was the following. Cloud is nothing else but on-premise, but made by specialized people, those teams, they really know their thing. And you as a team or a very small team of one person or multiple person, you're not going to be able to do and offer services at that level.
We can agree on that. Thank you for your answer and time.
Cheers.
Big round of applause for Julian, please. Coming up next for the on-premise team, Ionuț Ferraru.
Hi, good evening. For the last 4 years, my entire world has been the public cloud. I've built, managed, and secured complex AWS infrastructures. I will discuss today a critical advantage of on-premise environments, specifically unmatched data sovereignty and system control. The first point I want to make is that when we sign a contract with a public cloud provider, we are signing up for the shared responsibility model. Legally, this document says we are partners. It says that while Amazon or Microsoft manages the physical infrastructure, we remain in charge of our data. But there is a difference between a legal definition and a technical reality. While the contract promises control, the architecture often prevents it. And if we care about true data sovereignty, we have to look at what happens below the line of responsibility. When we architect for on-premise, we own the full stack. We have full visibility into the kernel, the hypervisor, and the network logs. When we migrate to the cloud instead, we accept a hard ceiling on our observability. We trade the infrastructures for APIs, and in doing so, we accept a fundamental technical reality. The customer is never truly root. In a public cloud environment, whether it's AWS, Azure, or Google Clouds, you manage your resources via their management console or CLI. Basically, you are issuing API calls into a black box. But here is the architectural gap. You have no telemetry on the other side of the API. You cannot see the logs of the cloud provider site reliability engineers accessing the hypervisor that hosts your VM. You cannot audit the break glass procedures used by the provider support staff. You cannot verify if a noisy neighbor on the same physical rack is causing cache contention or side channel leakage. You are basically operating a system where the underlying variable, the infrastructure management logs, is hidden from you. You cannot claim to control data if you cannot audit the sudo commands executed on your host machine. The second reason I am advocating for on-premise is the concept of true sovereignty. True sovereignty means your data and your application live on standard open infrastructure that you control. If you rely on a proprietary cloud service to function, you do not own your business. You are merely a franchise of the cloud provider. We see this realization happening in the industry right now. 37 Signals, the creators of Ruby on Rails, is a great example. 2 years ago, they famously left AWS and Google Cloud to buy their own hardware. While they saved millions, their CTO explicitly stated the primary driver was independence. He argued that renting basic compute from a mega corporation stripped them of their agency. As they put it, and let me quote you because this is really important, we value independence above all else. Being trapped in Amazon's cloud has become an intolerable violation of this core value. But it is not just about business independence. It's about legal survival too. Another great example is Dataport, the IT service provider for the public sector in Germany, which secures digital sovereignty and strict data control by operating its own geo-redundant physical data centers and prioritizing open source ecosystems. Why, you may ask? Because of the jurisdictional trap. They recognize that even if you choose a data center in Frankfurt, the US Cloud Act still allows US courts to subpoena data from US-owned providers regardless of their location. Dataport realized that you cannot apply German laws to a server that answers to a US judge. Their conclusion was simple, and I quote it, "It is about the digital sovereignty of the state and its citizens." Now, I know what you're thinking. On-premise is hard work. It means managing hardware and cooling. You're right. Sovereignty is inconvenient, but I would rather wrestle with a complex system I can see than rely on a simple system I am blind to. We must stop conflating availability with sovereignty. Yes, the cloud offers excellent availability, but sovereignty is a strict architectural requirement. To claim your data, you must pass 3 tests. You must see the hypervisor logs, you must own the assets to prevent vendor capture, and you must operate on hardware owned by a legal entity subject only to your local laws. The shared responsibility model unfortunately fails all 3 tests. It offers you control over the application, but keeps you blind to the platform. Don't rent your foundation, build it. Thank you.
And I believe you guys have questions for Yunus, so please. Any takers? Question in the front.
Hey. Hi. So you talk about sovereignty of the data.
Yeah.
Usually when you need that, you must be free, but if you have a product which needs this, and you don't want the government of that country, your example was the USA, that can get the data from any hard disk on their territory. But when you move to some sketchy countries. For example, Library Gen is the biggest book torrent, let's say. And they switch countries over and over again. They went to Russia, they went to China, they went to Vietnam, they went to these sketchy countries, which in the end, you are just run away, let's say, searching for some country which would not ask your data. I think Proton, which has the Proton mail, I think, is based in Switzerland, because Switzerland has this no discrepancy act or something like that, but they are forced now by the public bank and by the whole governments of UN to release this act and to get governance of their data. So you want it or not, each country will implement this governance over your data. So you will run away. You won't have any spot, any country to govern your data freely in the end.
Yeah, that's true, and I will comment a little bit on that. Yeah, that's true, but in the case of some European countries, yeah, you might not want the data to be seen anytime, like a US judge, as I mentioned, to be requested, and I guess in our European territory, I think our governments might do a better job, yeah, with this. Maybe not. It depends also on the type of data, yeah, you have there. So yeah.
Seriously, I'm not trying to take over the questions. Right, you did mention governments, so let's pick governments and hypervisor logs. Stefan mentioned China between other players. So what's the difference between cloud or on-prem in your hypervisor logs or not access to the hypervisor logs if you get a state actor deploying unknown chips next to whatever other components on the motherboard, the type of chips that ship data home?
So let me see if I understood your question correctly. So you are saying, you are asking if, is there a difference between cloud and on-premise if we do not actually get in contact with the hypervisor logs?
No,
is that the question?
No. So your argument was that run your things local, you get access to the hypervisor logs,
yeah.
Which would put you in a better data sovereignty position when compared to a cloud provider, because you're not seeing the other end of the API logs.
Yeah.
Right? What's the difference when China will ship hardware that's going to ship the data home?
Again, it depends on how you need that control of the data. If you really need to see those things, and if you really need to access that perimeter, and I think any kind of hardware will do the same job on the on-premise side. And I think it matters in the sense that if something goes wrong, you can control it like better than you would control it in cloud.
I can agree on that.
Answer to your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have in terms of questions, but we'll get you next time, I promise. So, big round of applause for Ionuț.
Thank you.
Coming up next, Justin.
Good evening to you all, and also dobar večer to our colleagues in Serbian that are probably and hopefully looking at me presenting this. My take will be a little bit different. I think it's time that we stop with the stories and with the theory regarding the sovereignty and what once in a while in a blue moon has happened. The opposition is trying to wrap their entire case in this seductive concept, control. They are selling you the story that if you can walk down the hall, scan your badge and open a door and physically touch your server, you are in absolute control of everything. Sadly, this can't be further away from the truth. As you can probably see, this means the security on premise. It's a board guard looking at TikTok the entire day, a CCTV that overwrites their video every 30 days, and most of it, that's it. While in the cloud, you benefit of everything else. So you have the crash course bollards, you have the security guards 24/7 armed, and they treat every event as an existential threat. You have biometric scanners so that no one can tailgate anyone else. Going further with the physical security, let's say that Mission Impossible style, someone gets inside the data center, a cloud data center, and steals 20 drives from the first rack that he finds. Well, what does it mean? What did he got? The answer is absolutely nothing. The data in the files sent to the cloud are broken into shards. Each shard is then encrypted and sent to another drive. To hundreds of other drives. Those drives are in different racks, different buildings even. So in the end, the guy that had stolen that gets absolutely nothing. He gets at most an encrypted letter from a million-page book. While on the other side, if the guy goes to the server room and picks up the entire storage, because how much storage can you have on premise, he actually has the crown jewels. Even with encryption being there, he can still launch a brute force attack and get the data out. Even more, if he has time, he can just wait for a zero-day vulnerability to appear and apply that to the unpatched firmware on the storage. But the physical layer isn't the only thing that we do in the cloud. We also watch our network very carefully. Using AI agents running on clusters of NVIDIA H200 cards, we sift through trillions of events and stop any anomaly even before it becomes an actual attack. This is something that it's absolutely not possible for on-premise. They just can't buy such cards, they just can't have the clusters of them, and it's financially not possible to have it. The opposition can also say, yeah, but we want to keep our encryption keys. We want to manage them. Be very careful what you wish for. A hardware security module isn't something to be taken light. It needs specialized cooling. It also needs specialized physical shielding. And if you don't patch it the right way, you just break it. Breaking it means that your key just goes away, and together with your key, you just lost all your encrypted data. How is it in the cloud? Well, just press a button, you get a FIPS level 3 hardware security module that's just for you, and it's also tamper-proof. How tamper-proof? If you try to open it, self-destruct. If you try to freeze it, self-destruct. If you try to change the voltage in order to read data from memory, self-destruct. If you look at it the wrong way, well, actually no self-destruct here, because the person that was looking funny at it was already stopped by the armed guards at the perimeter. The opposition offers here just two choices. Be insecure by using software keys that have to be loaded in memory, and every hacker can read them from there, or be inefficient and use your own hardware security module. We offer the third. Be secure and efficient. After that, the opposition teams is based around a single building where the servers reside. This type of architecture is very brittle. An earthquake, a fire, a flood, everything it doesn't just stop them, it will just end them. Like Julian has shown in the picture, once something like this occurs, you are done. In the cloud, we don't have a problem like this. We just use availability zones. Take, for example, Frankfurt. It has 3 availability zones. If one of them fails, the load balancer automatically will reroute the traffic to the other 2 zones. Your clients won't even notice. The last thing that I want to talk about is that it's not about only surviving disasters. We must also survive the success. What happens on Black Friday? What happens when your product just gets a massive wave and gets 1 million more calls on it? Well, you should be able to do it. Sadly, on-prem just has limited capacity, limited infrastructure. Their CPUs go to 100%, and after that, of course, they just crash. In the cloud, we don't have that problem. We just raise 100, 1,000, 10,000 more servers if needed, and after this is gone, you just don't pay for them. They just disappear, and everything is okay. So I guess in the end, the choice is yours. Do you want a static box represented by the on-prem infrastructure, or do you want a dynamic living organism that is actually the cloud? And also, while the on-prem team are running circles on a known track, your competition is flying high up in the clouds and soon also on the moon. Thank you.
Round of applause, please. Question time. Any takers?
Hello, I have a small curiosity. Maybe it's a stupid question, but you talked about ARM guards, FIPS-free, HSM, all layers of physical and software security. And how can you be sure that your actual cloud that you use actually has all this security? Because you also showed an AI-generated picture in the beginning with the security guards. It was not real. And yeah, how can you make sure that the cloud that you actually use is so secure if you can't see it? Thank you.
Interesting question, so to say. The thing is that we can't also be so sure what happens behind the scenes at the Decibelu base or any military base, but we know they are there. And on the data centers, on the cloud data centers, you can actually drive to a hill near it and have a look. If you wanted a picture with that, I can also provide.
Any other question for Justin? We still have time, folks.
Hello. There's also the question of price for every usage that you do on the cloud. Every transaction, every transfer, every access to your data, right? Any CSR logging on over there, any, I don't know, any storage that you over provision or something. How well can you manage to pay exactly for what you use? How difficult it is? Because yes, this is the main discussion financially, let's say, between cloud and on-premise. On-premise, you are paying for everything there, and for, like, let's say 5 years, 7 years, you are insured if you scaled correctly.
I think you've hit the right word, over-provisioning. In the cloud, you can just pay as you go and pay only for the resources that you are actually using. So you don't have to take a bigger server with 500 vCPUs or something like this when you only need the 24 one. And even if you at first tried it with the 500 one, you can just scale back and start paying on the smaller one. While on-prem, if you did that and bought the bigger server, you are stuck with it.
Well, I suppose you're happy with the answer. Cool. Yeah, I think we have time for one more. Yeah. Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Stan. Coming up next for the on-premise team. So, coming up next for the on-premise team, Monica.
Hello, everyone. My name is Monica. I began my career as a system engineer 9 years ago, and through continuous learning and professional growth, I have since transitioned into a DevOps engineer. Even if all characteristics of on-premise infrastructure are connected with each other, my role here today is to talk about cost and flexibility. True flexibility is the ability to choose any technology from any vendor. With on-premise, we are not looking into a single provider's ecosystem, API set, or pricing model. Yes, you can change a VM size with a click, but can you easily change cloud providers? Definitely not. An important point of view is deep customization, where on-premise can often be highly customized to meet specific business needs. This can include integrating with other internal systems, adapting functionality, and modifying workflows. One term which is very popular when considering choosing on-premise is that you are not vendor lock-in. In cloud, you may be bounded by a contract with specific SLAs, which may not be fitted for your business, such as quality of service, availability, and responsibilities. When you say flexibility, usually it means you want to do what you want when you want. For this, on-premise offers you the possibility to not depend on third-party providers, internet providers, or when the vendor is having upgrades which you can control. An example can be businesses that operate in areas with unreliable or limited internet connectivity, like rural offices or remote facilities. We all love flexibility, but your budget might not. Let's move to costs. We all know the pitch. The cloud is the default because it's fast. You can spin up a full environment in hours instead of months. For getting a project off the ground, that speed is real. But we need to look deeper. We have to ask, what happens after the project is live? That initial speed comes with a hidden invoice. We've all seen the bill. It's the sudden cost explosion when a dev script goes skyrocket and racks up a 5-figure bill over a weekend. It's the egress fees that punish you for your own data's popularity, making it expensive to get your own data out. It's the zombie VMs and forgotten storage volumes that bleed the budget dry every month, simply because it's easier to leave them running than to track them down or forget about them. And at the end of the month, you wake up with a surprise bill, just like at the cash register in Jumbo. Quick deployment is a tactical win, but owning your own stack, having full visibility into your performance, not having to constantly optimize for a pricing model, that's how you build systems that are efficient, secure, and cost-effective for the long term. For example, when Jackson Laboratories, known as JAX, one of the biggest biomedical research institutions, calculated the cost for moving their on-premise workloads to Microsoft Azure, they discovered it would cost $500,000 per month without disaster recovery. For that price, they could rebuild the data center every 6 months. Also, the 37 Signals company mentioned previously by my colleague, when they moved from AWS to on-premise, they saved $1.5 million per year by owning their hardware rather than renting it from AWS. Now you're thinking, for sure other costs have increased, but what was crucial for them, they were able to do this without changing the size of the operational team at all. In terms of scalability, they can afford to dramatically over-provision the server needs, so they don't depend on the time waiting for the new ones to show up. And let me leave you with this. The cloud sells us the dream of pay as you go, but too often it escalates into pay for the traffic, pay for the database, and ultimately pay to live. On-premise isn't free. It requires a planned initial investment upfront, or you can opt in for operational lease, but it results in predictable bills that don't surprise you at the end of the month. If cost predictability, long-term asset ownership, and freedom from vendor rate hikes matters, then owning your infrastructure isn't just a technical choice. It's your most strategic financial advantage. Thank you.
Q&A time.
Hi, Monica. You said in the beginning that you cannot change the vendor, the cloud vendor. I beg the difference. You have the infrastructure as code that allows you to do that, just that. So basically, you can change the cloud provider, depending of the cost, of course. You also said about the cost. Let's say, for example, you have Black Friday, right? On cloud, for example, you have the scalability, and therefore it can scale up when you have the big traffic, and then it scales down. When you have on-premise, for example, you need that infrastructure to hold the traffic from the Black Friday. What you're going to do afterwards?
So the question is what I'm going to do after I'm holding the traffic in on-premise, right?
The cost, let's just say you borrow some money to pay for the infrastructure for the Black Friday, yes? And you have a lot of big money cashing flow for the Black Friday. What you're gonna do afterwards? I mean, you're not gonna you're not gonna have the same traffic as before, right? So what happens with that money?
That's right, but usually businesses which can afford having Black Fridays, like the market, let's say, doesn't matter anyone. Usually those things are planned and they are seasonal, so you have to think at the cost on the long term. So on the long term, it's better to have on-premise infrastructure because you can predict what happens depending on the events you have. So my conclusion is that yes, you have to spend some money to have a better hardware, to have power to hold up the Black Friday, but in time, that cost is lower than in the end. I hope it answers.
Well, the cloud scales down, so therefore you earn the money, you make profit from the Black Friday, and then it scales down. You don't hold that.
Yeah, but I think being something predictable, it's about the total cost of ownership, which usually is lower in on-premise than in cloud.
Okay, so what you're gonna do about the availability zone? Like, for example, you make a business that it captures the worldwide, and then you have on-premise infrastructure, and then one Chinese guy wants to connect to you, and it's driving really slow. What you gonna do then?
Can you repeat the question, please?
I mean, you have an infrastructure based on a building that you bought or you rent or something like this. Let's just say in Romania, yes? And then your business goes worldwide. It's so renowned that even the Chinese guys wants to log in into your infrastructure, into your business, yes? But if your infrastructure is here in Romania, doesn't affect the internet somehow?
Yes, it does, but at that point, on-premise isn't for any kind of business. It depends. You can sell the hardware that you have. You can move to cloud. It depends what it's best for you at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Monica. Moving forward with the cloud team, we have Liviu Cosnea.
Thank you. So I started some time ago, and when I did, there was no cloud, of course, and data center was the norm. So that's how we deployed. We did FTP from some local machine to the data center. And I do remember some discussions we had with our stakeholders saying that even if they wouldn't have the money to do a commercial, like, I know, something Black Friday related, I know, or they will not be possible because it will not scale. The solution will not scale. Like, they will need to order in advance a lot of hardware, start, 6-9 months in advance, put it in place, and you still don't know the result, if everything comes and it will be ready and it will be up and running and everything will work fine. So yes, that's how it was back then. And then I found the cloud, and I wasn't a DevOps initially. I was a software, not even backend and frontend, because there was no backend and frontend back then. And yeah, and I became a DevOps because this traditional way was not working anymore when we moved to the cloud. So somebody had to do some automation about it. Somebody, you couldn't just let people do FTP on 20 machines, because now you could scale up and down, and you can run your solution on a lot of machines. Right. So I will talk about some services that we have in the cloud and some things that are happening because they have access to our data, which, okay, I don't know if it's good or bad, but some good things can happen about it. And I need you a little bit to imagine about it. So first service would be something like WAF, like Web Application Firewall. Like imagine if you are on premise and you need to install something like this. Most likely you will need to order some hardware, F5, Barracuda, maybe some Nginx module, commercial module, maybe some Apache module, something like that. And what would you end up with? Hopefully, when it comes and it is installed, please don't forget to change the default password. And then you'd get some interface where you'd add your changes, right? I don't think you'll get it. Things like infrastructure as code or CLI or API to call. And now, I know some of you probably have experienced it running WAF in AWS or Azure or Google, and it's pretty easy to install, pretty easy to run. You get some core rules already settled that you can just click and have them running. You do have infrastructure as code, you have everything. And it's not expensive because I know small companies that actually do run it. Small companies like, startups, 10, 15 people that had WAF enabled, and I was also surprised that it's not that expensive. The second, but with WAF, they would need to see your incoming request, right? So this is where you give up on the data part. They need to see if you do termination of TLS on the VM, it will not work. The other one is think of threat detection. So threat detection is something that it's pretty important nowadays. We hear a lot of stories of, like intruders and things like that, maybe in your pipelines, maybe in your staging production environment. So having something like guard duty in AWS, maybe Microsoft Defender or something like that in Asia, I don't know all the names. But having something like that, it's becoming critical, and you need to install it, you need to have it there. Now, I don't even know how you can do that on premise. I think it's possible, right? If it's not, then it's a good business to start. But I know threat detection is mostly based on identifying the threats. And that means having signatures. And that means updating those signatures. Having the latest version is crucial to have. And think about that. If you are on a cloud provider, you get that out of the box. You get a team that would actually spend all their time looking at these latest threads, updating the signature, making this service like a really good and strong one. I don't even know how you can do that on premise. I don't even know, would you need a separate team to hire? Right, and another thing that is compliance automation. You hear that a lot lately. I know we have certifications, audits, like the ISO, like SOC 1, SOC 2, and we have nice, interesting tools like Vanta and some other names that I don't know. And I see now that there are really small companies, really small teams, like 10, 15 people company, that are talking about SOC 2 certification, which is from my experience, is the real hard one, the one that is really hard to get. You need to do a lot of things to get there. And I will let you just think about if those guys are running on premise or if they are running on cloud. Those small companies that are talking about SOC 2 certification, and most likely will get it. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Some very good points, but do we have some very good questions? Come on, don't be shy. Cricket. Question in the front.
Right. You mentioned Vanta, and there are many others, plus the certifications. Where's the limit? If you're pursuing a SOC type 1, type 2, from my experience, it's cheap. Try to pursue a FedRAMP certification, and you'll see how budgets can just burn instantly. But where's the limit? Where do you set the limit for, yes, I'm gonna go on cloud, instead of going on-prem, in terms of budgets, right? Because you're DevSecOps, right?
Yeah.
Budget is a security thing.
I would argue that, but it's not the case here. Yeah, it's always about budget, because if you don't have any money, you don't have a company anymore. Like if you can't pay salaries, like you're gone. So this is also where security stops. Like if you need something done, security might not approve it, but if you also, like security guys also need to eat. Yes, I think on-premise is cheaper, but maybe it's more like, I know, like a fake thing, because I have experience in AWS, so like my context is there, so like I'm going to say probably some services from there. Also the names that I came up with, WAF and Guard Duty, and like it's from there. So talk to your customer success manager, whatever the name is. They do have a workshop especially tailored to reduce price. It was the first workshop when I joined a new company that our team went to. And the results were incredible. Like we were spending a lot of money extra on the cloud. And after that workshop, we reduced, I know, maybe like 40%. There's a lot of things that you can pay up front if you have the money, or just commit to upfront if you don't have the money, but still get a better price. So yeah, it is about the budget, but it's also like on-premise is a big upfront investment. And I know if you're a small company just starting, you will not spend, I know, like millions of dollars, euros on servers. So I know, like for me, it's a no-brainer to go with the cloud if you're at the beginning. I don't know when you're bigger. I haven't experienced it.
Out of pure curiosity, do you ever have normal support with AWS or enterprise?
So, I didn't understand, sorry.
Sorry, the level of support that you have with AWS, pure curiosity, it's normal standard support or enterprise support?
Yes, we do pay a lot of money on that, but I don't know how it's called. I think it's something business.
Yeah, you got the enterprise support.
Yeah.
Comes with discounts if you commit to spend
yes.
an enormous amount of money.
And we can talk about, I know you can spend some money through the marketplace and they have discounts, and like you can, there's a lot of programs that if you are at the beginning, they will give you credits also, lots of credits, just to catch you and get you on board, but it's worth for the both sides.
No, I agree, I totally agree with you. If you're a startup, you should go the cloud. Thanks again.
Cool, thank you. So, coming up next, valiant warrior for the on-premise team, Ionut Sulmina.
Hello. So, the title of this debate is where should your data live? But before we should ask where, we should ask who should benefit from it. So, as the speaker said, hi, I'm Ionuț Lumina. I've been DevOps engineer for over 7 years, and today I want to talk about a slightly different topic, the entrepreneurial and economic impact of where you choose to host your infrastructure. In the European Union, over 100 billion euros is expected to be invested in data center infrastructure by 2030. This isn't about technology. It's about economic sovereignty, creating opportunities, and for the next generation of entrepreneurs. But here what matters to us. This investment isn't happening only in Frankfurt or Amsterdam. It's happening right here in our communities. Let's talk a bit what's happening right here in Romania. We have University of Alexandria Cuza, which has its own data center, which serves for university and also for private companies, for research projects and not only. We also have Quartz Matrix right here in Iași, operates a data center where you can rent servers, and they can even deliver your dedicated server the very next day. They can also help you to build your own data center, even if it's smaller or bigger, depending on your needs. This isn't some faceless corporation. These are people you can meet for coffee. And also, Romanian government is planning to build their own cloud with multiple data centers in Bucharest, Timișoara, Brașov, and Sibiu. And we had, I just say examples in Romania, but we have a great example of an ex-coal city from Poland called Katowice, which now has 12 data centers and just secured a major AI and esports investments. They are building technology hub where the coal mines used to be. Now, yes, AWS is easier to start with. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But when you're ready to scale, you have real options. Option 1, build on-premise infrastructure in your own building with modern tools like Kubernetes or other mature open source solutions. It's simple than ever. You can even lease operationally servers with low cost and keeping your hardware up to date. Option 2 is to use a local micro data center. You can get control and customization of on-premise with someone else handling the physical infrastructure. Low latency, direct negotiation, competitive pricing, and when something breaks, you call someone local. Both options means you negotiate directly, control cost, build relationship with people you can actually reach. Here's the bottom line. The question isn't just where your data lives, it's where money flows. Every euro spent on AWS goes to Seattle. Every euro spent locally stays here, create jobs, build expertise, and expands the ecosystem that your next hire will come from. When you choose local infrastructure, you are not making a technical decision. You are making investment in the community where you'll find your next employees, your next partner, or your next customers. That's not just infrastructure. That's economic development. That's the foundation for the next generation of Romanian tech companies. Choose where your data lives, but more importantly, choose who benefits from your success. Thanks. Questions? Caesar?
Can I grill? Oh, wait, your turn. Right. Oh, wow, where do I start? Local university, because I've recently worked with them. So I was showing Stefan while you were chatting, while you were telling us about the on-prem, the official website of UAC hosted in their data center. 30 seconds later, it was still loading. Yeah, so why should I host with them if it's that slow? I think I had it in the cache of the phone. Right, so again, why should I host with them?
It's not only about the hardware, it should be the software also.
Right, that's a different conversation, because the software can be deployed everywhere.
Sadly, yes, indeed. I just checked myself
Try on yours
this week, and multiple websites from CUSA was slowly charging. But I just found out when I went to their data center, they are. That time I was a student, and I was asking myself why YouTube is working so fast in campus, but other sites no, because there is YouTube cache in of the data center of the CUSA. That's stuff.
I got it right.
So, yeah.
The other question that I had, but I got distracted with the UAC. Is that notebook an statement to the on-prem? Because the cloud team has iPads or other tablets.
Have some open source, some Google. So yeah, we have hybrid.
I got it. Thank you.
Hey, about the money going locally, it goes to the mayor's office. So I will stop the discussion there. To the local budget. I think the bottom line, you said the bottom line, is not that cloud is better or on-premise is better or something. It depends on the business, because if you're, I think if you're on a greenfield, a small business, you can go on cloud because you don't have to worry about a team, infrastructure team or something. You can go to 3 clicks, you got the product up and go. If you are a middle company, I think, and you have some security rules, some laws that tells you to keep the data into country or other issues, it's okay to keep it on premise because you have the governance of the data. You don't need some multi-region backup or failover or redundancy. So for middle companies, let's say, it's okay. From up there, it starts a discussion. Okay, if you have a large company, you have a Black Friday scenario. Some companies don't have scenarios. As Monica said, her example was a pharmaceutical company or something like that. Biomedical, they don't have Black Fridays, so no Black Friday question should come to her. Example. So in a higher company with a higher budget, you can keep it in cloud. It's okay in cloud. You can keep it also on premise if you know the cost. But the question is where you want to rely on the responsibility, where to put the responsibility. So if you want to stay your shareholders, it's not my responsibility. It's Amazon's responsibility, and you shake your hands. That's it. But because in the end, when you keep your data, your systems, not only the data, all the systems, there are on some computers, physical computers somewhere. If it's on premise, it's in your house. If in the cloud, it's on somebody else's house. Everything is on premise at the end. But when you want to give the money, when you want to buy the services or not. But there are also another example of big clients which must keep their data on their premise. My example is a big MasterCard. They have on-premise data. They have a data warehouse, as Cesar said, a data warehouse must look like. They have armed snipers on the top of the building. They have all this fancy stuff which Amazon has on their data centers, but there's on premise. So you can have exactly what Amazon gives you on premise. You can have that. Also, usually Amazon, which is the largest, I just say it as an example because it is also the largest, has an RPO policy on SLA of 5 nines uptime, which means 99.999, which means 5 minutes downtime per year. This is how it is translated. On MasterCard, they have 9 nines, which means 31 milliseconds downtime per year. And they are on premise. Thank you.
Thank you, Nut. Coming up next for the cloud team, Codrin Băleanu.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so many things. I completely forgot what I was going to talk about tonight after hearing all these, well, very interesting opinions. I just want to put two things out of discussion. First, I really hated that we're still in the 90s when we are talking about cloud or on-prem. People in 2025 are actually building solutions in a cloud-native way. So we're not just renting VMs in some basement or, well, highly secure compound. We are actually using, or we should be using, like bespoke solutions that help us actually deliver things faster to our customers. And not just rent out VMs to put some Kubernetes cluster running there, idling just for serving some, well, cat store images. So that's one thing. And secondly, there is this fallacy that, okay, it doesn't cost anything to run your hardware because you own the hardware. Yes, indeed. A car has really good mileage after you buy it, but you have to buy it, right? You have to pay for it. And a car, especially in this economy, it's really expensive, right? So it's not, I don't think it's right to say it doesn't cost any money to have your hardware. It actually costs a lot of money. But the reason that we're not seeing it is because of the sunken cost fallacy, right? Because we paid for it, so we start to love it. So I tried to sum up what we are all thinking. It's not about which is best. I will let you decide. I know which is the easiest and fastest and more fun and the cheapest way to run a website today. I can do it for literally 0 cents using AWS and deploy it globally with CloudFront. And I simply pay as I go. Really, 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 really low cents. But if I want to do it physically, I have to buy something even from Quartz Matrix or whatever provider and buy whatever shitty old hardware they have on stock. If I want the newest stuff, I have to wait. We all ordered stuff from abroad. There's delays. There's at least weeks to get something from China over here to Romania. That's if, of course, local customs let you get off without paying some expensive import fees. Okay, so cloud versus on-premise, I would say yes. On-premise is really cool if you want to be in control. You get to sleep with your servers in bed, if that's your thing. Yeah, you have no scalability, of course, like we said. And what's most important, you are 100% responsible for everything, right? For networking, for cables, for not having well, power adapters on the floor. I'm really curious how Julian and his guys tested the fact that they didn't have any power outlets under the water. But yeah, that's a question maybe you can ask him after this. So yeah, it sounds good, sounds interesting. But again, if you go cloud, it's fast, it's really cheap, really, really cool, especially with, well, if you look at what has been happening in the past years, there's quite a lot more really cool things other than VMs. Well, you shouldn't be using VMs anymore, guys. Come on, it's 2025. Okay. Responsibility, yeah, it's shared, but it's shared with some guys that really know their networking and really know what security means, perimeter security, physical security. They know what shielded cables mean and why you should have them in your clusters, in your hardware. If you don't know what shielded cabling means, try to look it up on Wikipedia tonight and see how much it costs and see if you can find it on eMag. Good. So again, to sum up, yes, you can make love or you can fall in love with your servers because you see them, you can look at them, it's nice, you can look at the blinking lights and be amazed. The minute something breaks, you have to fix it, you have to wire it, you have to check everything there. So yeah, I don't think it's a good thing to do in 2025. And just to sum it up and make sure everyone really understands my message, I tried to compare on-premise and the cloud with pizza. So for me, on-premise is like You want a pizza, you have to build the kitchen, you have to buy the oven, you have to buy the flour, you have to raise the cow, raise the pig, slaughter them, smoke the meat, mince the meat, do everything by hand. Raise the tomatoes, raise the whatever you want to put in your pizza. Right? Create the electricity, bake it in the oven, you're done. If you want to bake more pizza, you just buy 10 more ovens. Very good, very, very cost effective. Then again, if you want to do, well, VM in a cloud, or what we were talking here earlier, you just do the pizza, you rent the oven, and that's it. You go somewhere, they have the kitchen, you just do your own cooking, whatever. That's not my style. My style, or the most convenient style, you go out, you pay for a pizza, and someone else cooks the pizza and brings it to your table. And you get a really nice atmosphere. You don't have to do the dishes afterwards. And it's nice and clean. And if you don't want the pizza tomorrow, guess what? You can order something else, and that's totally fine. So there's no problem and no real choice, in my opinion. I would say that for me, cloud wins completely. Even this presentation, these slides that I drew by hand tirelessly over countless nights, I couldn't have done it without the cloud, right? So in a way, I guess I could have went and paid for some, artist to draw them by hand, but I chose the really cheap way and just did it myself. So using the cloud. So yeah, thank you.
Questions, please.
Hello, me again. Very nice presentation, very engaging. The question is, what are we going to do when we need really low latency, like for a telecom scenario? When we need 5 milliseconds latency or 10 milliseconds round trip for the Oracle rack. Do we have a solution on cloud for this?
I used to work on a company that actually had this problem, and I'm not doing anything. Sorry. So yeah, indeed, there are situations where you absolutely need latency. Like when you need it, you put the hardware as close as possible to the user or to the data source or whatever you want to capture. There is no other way, but you can still do it using cloud providers in a way. Like for example, AWS has this AWS Outposts. You can actually run certain services on premise and in co-location close to your data. So you can completely bypass the latency issue. You can have them run on the exact same data center as your on-prem workloads. You can then, of course, architect a bit and sync data by using various techniques like batching or whatever, or streaming. But you can bypass the low latency requirements with ease nowadays without actually having to buy your own hardware.
I take it you're happy with the answer. Good. We have a question in the front here as well.
So, hello, thank you for all your explanations. So I had last week a 3 days downtime. It was wonderful. I am on cloud on AWS. My users were going nuts. Yeah. So we have their picture with peace of mind. I didn't have any for 3 days. We mentioned that these people are specialized. Why weren't they specialized in the 3 days? And what should we expect? I don't have any idea. Maybe you do.
Yeah, well, I know I can help fix your problem, or there are guys here that can, but usually I think it depends, because someone here mentioned the shared responsibility model, right? So, but that goes for the hardware as well, for on-premise as well, right? You are responsible for what it is you are running, you are operating. So there are cases that if the hardware, the actual hardware running some data center where AWS or Google Cloud or whatever is operating fails, they cover, and it's their fault. But if it's your systems that break down, like, I don't know, for some operator error, then indeed that sucks. But it's not necessarily the cloud provider's fault. You should have built-in fault tolerance, disaster recovery, backup strategies, all these things in place. You should do like business continuity exercises and planning. There is a lot of things, but unfortunately, as a startup or as a smaller company, we don't know this. You don't know. You aren't taught. You don't think of these problems, right? So this is why you, well, outsource some of this by renting hardware operated by a cloud provider. And this is actually the core business value that the cloud brings to anyone. Because you outsource a lot of the knowledge that you need to use when something breaks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cesar is gone, so I can start. You said very well that one of the pros of the cloud is that they have a better logistics, let's say, pipelines. So as the first, Julian, I think, it was that gave that example. You must have the same hardware with the same firmware with the same blah 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 blah. It's very hard to buy a truck of hard drives and to change them every 6 months. But Amazon has their own logistics in place. They buy 3 ships of hard drives and they get replacement anytime. So this is a good pro. But as the person in front said before, she had an outage in the production, and as far as I saw this year on Amazon, or an example, they rely now with their support with chatbots. So it's harder and harder to reach a human to talk to you or if you have an issue on Amazon. So as the more users come to Amazon and to Microsoft also, they replace the human personnel with AIs, with chatbots, it now will be even harder to manage these exceptions. I once had an issue in production where when a hard drive just failed in the cloud. It was a big client. We cannot do the backup in time. There was a huge client. And we actually talked to one guy from Amazon, and we begged him to go to that chamber and to see if the drive is okay, because they received an alert. There was a new type of alert on those times. And they just closed the system because, well, it's a failure. It was a failure, a hardware failure. But we begged him, please, go there and see. And he said, well, okay, you are lucky. It was just false negatives or something like that. He just replaced all the hard drives from there. They are replicated and stuff. But he replaced the mainframe. I don't know what. He replaced something and he said, you are lucky, you are up now. But now we don't have that anymore because everything is a chatbot, and as much users go up into cloud, there will be less and less human interaction, less support engineers physically. This is a contra for the cloud.
Yeah, true, but you have to architect better, I think. You have to build for failure, right? You have to take this, what is it, chaos engineering, chaos principles, and put them in your architectures, right? When you build a system, you should have this resilience built in and plan for failure. Otherwise, yeah, you'll have a really hard time. But again, we also evolved. Like 10 years ago, we didn't know what we know now. We were reliant on, we thought SSDs will last forever, hard drives will last forever, even in the cloud. We couldn't conceive having our VMs being restarted in the cloud because it's in the cloud, nothing breaks there. So, but we learned, right? We learned, and now we just do things differently.
To put in place a failover mechanism in multi-zone, so we have a zone failure and you put it into another zone the failover, it doubles the cost of infrastructure.
Yes, but there are strategies. You can do like that pilot lamplight. You can have, you know, some...
Each one of these doubles your cost infrastructure. In your defense, on-prem you don't have that.
You don't have anything.
You don't have this option, yeah.
So you do, but it's really expensive. You actually have to have physical backups, physical duplicates of everything, all the hardware. It can be done. It is doable, and of course it's not rocket science. But the real question is, do you actually need that, or like when do you start needing that? Yeah. But this kind of we actually have. I worked with customers that operated data centers, and indeed, redundancy, things like that are important. But more important is like where you are actually located in the networking layer of the world, and how close you are to internet exchange. But in the end of the day, you can do it. So you don't have to be Google or Amazon to build a business in data centers. You just need to have a lot of cash to actually pay for all the hardware. But there are needs like Quartz Matrix or banks or whatever other entities that run their own hardware. It's not something really unheard of. But yeah, if you want to do something today, I wouldn't ever first buy the hardware, then write the code. That's not what I would do.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
And our last warrior for today, Lucian Caliman, representing the on-premise team.
Hi, everyone. My journey started almost 20 years ago as a network technician, then as a network and system administrator, and today I work in a DevOps role. I've managed server and infrastructure on-premise, and I know what it means to keep the system running around the clock, and the importance of protecting the data, because if you lose them, you're out. There are some things you never hand over: your values, your purpose, and your data, your crown jewels. Cloud means you don't need to manage hardware. This is an argument for laziness, not for efficiency. Managing your own infrastructure means you cultivate an in-house team with deep, irreplaceable expertise. Outsourcing this to a vendor degrades our organization and makes us dependent. And here's the irony. Even in the cloud, you still manage the operating system, the applications, the identities, and the data. The hardware is the easiest part. Cloud providers have better security than you. All cloud enthusiasts will highlight the cloud provider's formidable security. And in one sense, that's true. But here's the cloud inconvenient truth: the shared responsibility model. The shared responsibility model clearly states that the customer is responsible for securing their own data, access, and configurations. The attack surface we are responsible for is massive and complex. Think about that. You are responsible for configuring the firewalls, the policies, managing the access keys, encrypting the data, and identity protection. And that's where breaches happen. A misplaced key, a misconfigured bucket, a permission left open. And we have seen it happen time and again. Headlines scream of massive data breaches, not because Amazon or Microsoft were hacked, but because the tenant made a configuration error. Just an example, a single misconfigured S3 bucket has leaked more data than the most on-premise breaches. The most sophisticated logs are useless if you leave the key under the mat. In on-premise world, our crown jewels are in the vault we build, with logs we designed, guarded by our own security teams, by people we trust. The chain of custody is short, simple, and entirely within our control. In the cloud, the chain is long, complex, and riddled with potential for human error, our human error, for which the provider bears zero responsibility. When it fails, you wait. When the prices rise, you pay. And when your data leaks, is your name on the line. We are not just outsourcing infrastructure. We are outsourcing the blame. On-prem simplifies the chain of responsibility. It begins and ends with us. My colleagues told you a beautiful story about the cloud. Infinite scale, effortless performance, a wonderful story, but a fairy tale. Because in the cloud, performance and scalability are often in direct conflict. The cloud is built on shared resources. The performance is never truly yours. It's at the mercy of the noisy neighbor, another tenant whose workload can throttle your own. You're paying for the performance you cannot guarantee. And let's be clear, no matter how sophisticated the cloud becomes, the laws of physics doesn't negotiate. Data moving through distant data center has latency. For real-time analytics, transactional system, high-frequency workload, latency isn't an inconvenience, it's a bottleneck, a failure. On-prem gives us something that the cloud cannot and will never provide. Dedicated, low latency, deterministic performance. Cloud infinite scale is perfect if you're running the next TikTok, but our critical workloads, internal databases, supply chain system are stable, predictable, and mission critical. They don't spike, they don't go viral, they don't need rocket ship level of elasticity. Our on-prem scaling is strategic and proportional. We grow capacity as our business grows, not because of a vendor quota or an unexpected usage spike. In the cloud, scaling itself can degrade your performance because you scale into resource competition. To get the performance back, you must over-provision at catastrophic cost. A vicious cycle built to benefit the provider, not the customer. We avoid this entirely because we own the spec. We guarantee the performance. We scale with discipline, not dependency. So here's the choice. Do you want theoretical scale that collapses when you need performance most? Or guaranteed performance with strategic, cost-effective scalability that you control? For any serious enterprise, the answer is clear. Reject the compromise. On-premise isn't outdated. It's ownership. It's independence. It's knowing where your data lives and who can touch it. Every second, every layer, every byte. Your crown jewels belong in our own vault, in our own castle.
Questions?
Hello. Yep. So regarding latency, let's say you're a mid-range company, couple of $1 million or tens of millions, and you want the global exposure. Going on-prem, you cannot build data centers all over the globe to have low latency for someone in Australia and on the same part someone in Europe, for example. I'm coming from an Asia perspective, and we have front row, which is globally and has caching, and we actually have low latency for our users. How do you think we should manage that if we go on-prem?
But you can build data centers in different
ways. But saying you are a couple of millions dollars, you cannot build data centers all over the world to have low latency for your some customers in Australia and some customers in Asia and I don't know, couple of thousand customers in Europe and tens of thousands in US.
Okay. you can rent micro servers in micro data centers, like my colleague says, close near to your. You can find local companies, local with data center that rented just
So
near your clients.
Okay, but it's basically, I mean, yeah, you can go there and see how how they're building the data centers and
Yes.
what they're doing with their data.
Yes.
But basically, it's like some level of cloud. You just hire someone else to do for a fee.
It's not like this.
Okay.
You can actually audit the perimeter. You can go there and look at that data centers.
Yeah, but
it's different.
It would be so much more expensive than do it on cloud?
It depends how important your data is, because the big question for tonight is where your data lives. How important that this data is for you. It's no matter where your data lives, how close are you to you.
Yeah, understood. So if you're, I don't know, high level secret data, you should go on-prem, of course. But if you're, I don't know, e-commerce company, that it's not Stripe or something that holds credit data or something like that, you can go on cloud, basically.
You can go to cloud with some services, but the important data, you keep it on premise. You use cloud only for the global services or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
We have a question in the back.
Yeah, not actually a question. I applaud the format and also the attempt. I'm a cloud supporter, but I applaud the attempt of the other party. And yeah, hybrid is sometimes the answer. Uber, for instance, are shifting to cloud from colocation and bare metal and are running currently hybrid. There are solutions as Databricks or Fabric that are not available on premises. So I guess cloud is the future. Thank you.
I have no question, no answer for this, but Databricks, for what I understand, it was recently used, but I'm pretty sure in few soon will be a solution on premise too.
I mean, it was more like an opinion rather than a question, but still, very good opinion. Thank you. Cool. So this does conclude our debate. So please help me with a rousing round of applause for our debaters. So yeah, I hope you are now well equipped to vote, the final vote, to determine which team is going to take it home. So yeah, before you leave, do not forget to vote. Voting begins now.
My dad can't lose weight with Tai Chi, so it's a scam?
Oh, no, he probably just doing it wrong. Most men do Tai Chi wrong, and that's exactly why they can't lose weight. How old is your father?
He is 56.
Again, please don't forget to vote. We're in a democracy after all, so don't forget to vote.
Second round back.
Just so we can begin the process of counting the votes as well. we have a winner. We have a winner. So let's see how you guys voted. Initially, you guys gave 63 votes for the cloud team. So, you know, before you guys were exposed to any of the arguments, you gave 63 votes to the cloud team and 21 votes to the on-premise team. Now, after the debate, after you've heard all of these great arguments, and after you had the chance to see both sides of the aisle, you still gave 53 votes to the cloud team, but it was a lot closer because the on-prem team got 31 votes. So please, another big round of applause for everybody. It was a great debate. And again, thank you all for attending. You guys were great. Enjoy the rest of the event and have a great evening.